So it is the end of June in 2022, and today we're going to talk about the market's dramatic shift. Now, it has kind of been a sobering time for the housing market. The last 2 years have just been like a never-ending party. Home buyers were enjoying record low interest rates, making homeownership super affordable, despite rising home prices. And home sellers, on the other hand, were watching their home values soar, courtesy of scarce supply and above normal demand. But all parties come to an end, and it seems very clear that March was the beginning of that end. Since then, the number of properties for sale has more than doubled. Pending sales are dropping, closed sales are dropping, and the percentage of homes failing to sell is also increasing. Now that all sounds like pretty dire, but despite that, we are still in a slight seller's market. And that's just for the moment. If our current trends continue, we will be in a balanced market as of mid-August and potentially a buyer's market as soon as the first week of September. But history has taught us that trends are rarely predictable. And to quote Michael Orr of the Cromford Report, if the current trend continues, we would enter a buyer's market in the first week of September. And of course, this is just one of billions of possible scenarios, and we do not pretend to know what will actually happen. Demand could improve or get worse tomorrow, and supply is equally unpredictable. So you cannot foretell the future, but you can study the present, and most market observations you will see elsewhere are 1 to 2 to 3 months old. So this is why they measure it every day. So first thing we're gonna talk about is the supply, or the lack thereof, has just been a controlling factor in the housing market for the last 2 years. And it still is. Only this time it's the rapid increase of supply that is the story. If we were just suffering deflating demand, the market would be cooling off gently. But 34% new listings are arriving every 4 weeks. So supply is increasing just at the wrong time, and it's not being absorbed. This is why we are seeing the fastest cooling trend that the greater Phoenix housing market has ever experienced. What we do not know is whether the extra listings will keep coming or if this excess new supply will dry up sooner rather than later. Now, demand, on the other hand, it was predictable that rising costs and interest rates would start to dampen demand. But the fluctuations in supply and demand have not impacted all price ranges the same. The market under $400,000 is still not seeing any new listings, and demand, it exceeds supply there. Interestingly enough, homes over $2 million also remain in low supply, even though demand is down. And the most vulnerable price range out of that is that mid-range 400 to $1 million, which has seen the largest amount of extra supply while also experiencing a huge drop in demand. This is the range where a flow of new supply is being created by the builders, and most homeowners. So to quote Michael Orr again, the mid-range is likely to become a balanced market before the low end or the high end. Now, what will happen to prices? That's the biggest question that we're getting. As we have mentioned many times before, prices are a trailing indicator, not a leading one. So prices do not drop in a balanced market. In a balanced market, prices simply tend to follow inflation. But prices do drop when demand is low and supply is greater than that can be absorbed. That market favors buyers over sellers, and lower prices reflect the buying power of those limited buyers. So a very good stat that we look at is the listing success rate. So what percentage of homes are actually selling in that period? At the peak of our market, almost 94% of homes sold. Compare that to the bottom of the market in 2008, only 20% of homes sold, with our average kind of hovering around 68.7. So it's normal for a third of homes not to sell. But we start to see prices decline when that rate starts to go below 50%. So this is a stat that we're really monitoring. So what does this mean for our buyers and sellers? For sellers, one, you have to have realistic expectations, since you've been holding all the cards lately. With vast inventory hitting the market, be open to more flexibility in price reductions, negotiations, and realize this is gonna be less showings. Now for buyers, you gotta live within your means. If you have the financial means and are comfortable with your monthly payment, there is more opportunity out there now than there's been in the last few years. And remember, home ownership is still the leading investment to long-term financial freedom. So, hope you guys got a little value out of that. Thank you for staying, watching the whole thing. And as always, I'm here to answer any questions.